Welcome back to WDSR, Duquesne Student Radio. A little bit delayed here at the 3:10 hour on this Wednesday, October 16th. Coming at you talking about college football this time, and it's been a great season so far. A lot of missed opportunities, a lot of upsets for different teams, a lot of moving and rankings so far, and a lot of surprises, I believe. What is your first game, Ben?
First game up, I have Miami, Louisville. And the only reason, Miami's 5-point favorites, but I think Louisville's still not. They're still a good team. They just dropped a game to SMU, but I think SMU's a good team. Miami could be on upset alert. They probably should have got upset by Cal, and they definitely should have got upset by Virginia Tech. So they're prone to keeping these games close. I don't think that Louisville's going to win. It could be a nice game. I think Cam Ward can really, get
solidify
ahead.
himself as a Heisman favorite?
I'm not going to say solidify, but I think create a gap in between him. Because right now, I think Ashton Jeanty should, if he keeps up the pace, he should win the Heisman.
Right.
But I think Cam Ward could really get up to him, maybe get a little bit ahead.
Do you see Beck in that conversation? Because Beck is the leader in passing yards.
He is,
yeah.
And that's great, but
it's not good enough.
I would assume
for
he's
that,
up
for
there
the
in
underperforming Ole Miss team as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Carson, underperforming Georgia team, not the Georgia team we've seen in the past.
Oh,
were you talking about Jackson Dart?
Jackson Dart.
Jackson Dart.
My
okay.
fault. That's on me.
Yeah.
That's on me. Ole Miss, Jackson Dart. My fault.
Jackson Dart is. I don't think he's a Heisman contender at all. I think Carson Beck's a more Heisman contender than Jackson Dart. It's just like he had monster games against terrible opponents, and they really just beefed up his stats. Like he had, and that LSU team that he just played, their defense, I'm not going to say that it's an incredible defense, but, he put up, if I have the stats right here, which I don't. But,
Dart?
what he did against LSU, because that was just a weird game.
There's a lot of weird games over the weekend.
Overall, Garrett Nussmeier went 22 for 51. Like, come on, Garrett, what are we doing here? I like you as a player. And even Jackson Dart went 24 for 42. Like, what are we doing here?
They're throwing a lot.
What? I get Lane Kiffin and Brian Keller are offensive guys, but,
yeah.
I like Jackson Dart. Do I think he's a top 5 quarterback in this class? Maybe. Is he one of the top guys? No. Should he be in contention for the Heisman? No. But he's still a solid quarterback.
Okay, so if you had to give me a top 5 list ranked in order, you're going to go 1 Gene T, 2
for Heisman?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to go Gene T. I'm going to go Cam Ward. I'm going to go Travis Hunter.
Okay.
I'm going to go Jalen Milroe. And then I have I'm going to go Carson Beck at 5.
Shadur Sanders.
I just don't like him. That's the only reason he's not up there. I just don't like him.
Can you put that bias aside?
Nope. Nope.
Okay. I was going to ask if you think he's a more polished, pro-ready quarterback than Jackson Dart.
He is my J.J. McCarthy of this year. I hated J.J. McCarthy. He's a terrible quarterback. Should not have gone 10th overall. And he is my J.J. McCarthy this year. He's overrated. I don't think he's a very good quarterback. If this comes back to bite me, so be it.
In 10 years, whenever he's an NFL MVP, yeah, it will.
When he's in the Hall of Fame, he's he's better than Brady, and this comes back to bite me, so be it. But I don't think he's an incredible.
So then you're Miami, Louisville. You're taking Miami.
I am taking Miami. Yep, I think it's close, but I still take Miami.
So how do you see? What do you think the final score is? What do you think Cam Ward does in his performance?
I'm
320 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception.
I'm gonna go 285. I'm gonna go 4 touchdowns, 1 interception.
A lot of touchdowns.
I'm gonna go a final score of 31-26.
Wow.
Yep.
I think that's closer than Louisville will keep it. I don't think Louisville's that good. And I know, as you said, I know the Virginia Tech game or whatever. Maybe it was Virginia, not Virginia Tech.
If Virginia Tech got robbed.
It was a super close game and all that other stuff. And Miami's been in a lot of close games, and I think that their 6th overall ranking is not deserving. I think they're ranked 6th only because they're going
undefeated.
to. Well, that is, and also because they're going to win the ACC.
Yeah.
And you have to put a conference champion up inside the top 10.
Yeah.
But in terms of, are they the 6th best team in college football?
Absolutely not.
Correct. I'm with you.
Yeah, and I think that they want to have an ACC team high in the rankings, and they thought it was going to be Florida State. But clearly it hasn't. So Miami is their substitute.
Yeah.
And maybe it's Clemson. I don't know. I think Clemson's okay. I think around 10 or 11 is probably where they at.
Yeah. And that's what I was listening to the radio driving into school today, and they talked about how good this Clemson team is, and in the ACC it's Clemson, Pitt, and Miami.
Yeah.
And obviously, in I think 2 or 3 weeks, Pitt plays Clemson.
We do. They come to Acrisure Stadium,
Yeah.
which I kind of hate. I like
Yeah, Heinz. But and that's going to be one of those great games where you'll really get a test to see, and especially with being that far into the season, you'll
Yeah.
see who's going to be in the college football playoffs.
I didn't like Cade Klubnik last year. I thought he was very, very bad last year. But this year he's playing well.
And I know Dabo was on the hot seat there for a second in Clemson.
He was, which is crazy to say because he's won 2 national championships.
Yeah.
And he now
Especially in the Saban era, which is
especially
like
he beat
crazy.
Saban twice, which
Yeah.
is crazy.
Yeah.
Like I think Kirby Smart's the only guy to ever him and Kirby Smart are the only two to ever do that. But like last year they obviously had an underwhelming season. I think that Phil Maffa is playing very well. I think Cade Klubnik is playing better than I thought he would, and I really like Barrett Carter. Barrett Carter's a monster. Do I think that this is a championship team? Absolutely not. This is a fringe college football playoff team.
Okay. Your next game. Are you getting into the big dogs in the SEC yet? Or
I
no?
do. I'm going to start with the 3:30 games, and I'm going to start out hot. I'm going to start Bama, Tennessee.
Oh wow.
I think Tennessee's very overrated. I like Iamaleava. He is not very good right now. I'm not saying that he will not be a good quarterback, but right now he's not very good. 2 or 3 years down the line, this guy could absolutely be a Heisman contender. I just think that he's been very underwhelming. They're very run-heavy this year, and I like Jalen Milroe. Even though they had another scare, almost lost to South Carolina. I do think that South Carolina's a good team.
Yeah.
But I like Bama. I think that their defense is good. Their offensive line is incredible. Very good offensive line. I like Ryan Williams. I like obviously I like Jalen Milroe.
Their defense as well.
Their defense is very
Yeah, they
good.
have an SEC defense, which is
They
like
do.
always going to be big
And
deal.
I think that this is a very comfortable 14-point win for Bama. They're only 3-point favorites. I like Bama more than I like
14.
Tennessee. I do.
Wow.
I think that Tennessee
That's
has
almost
just,
that in the SEC. That's pretty much considered a blowout.
yeah. I think that Tennessee's just overrated. Down the line, Iamaleava is going to be a quarterback. Right now, he's not very good,
Yeah.
but he will get there.
I get it. I would have liked to see obviously the Vanderbilt. Yes, the Vandy smudge is going to follow them around forever.
Yes,
But
that's going to follow Kalen
yeah,
DeBoer.
it's not just the season. It's forever. And they also haven't done a great job of like cementing themselves as like this is Alabama. Like whenever Saban was Alabama,
They did before that Vanderbilt
Yeah.
loss.
Yeah.
But you're right. Ever since that,
Yeah.
they just haven't.
Yeah, and that's what you're waiting to see, and maybe it happens this week, and I think it kind of needs to happen this
You're
week.
right,
You have to reassert yourself as Alabama, because right now it was like, especially in the Saban era, you were like, oh man, the Grim Reaper, it's Alabama.
Nobody ever wants to play Alabama.
Right, and now you're not looking as if you're that big of a deal.
Nobody wants to play Georgia.
Yeah.
That's what we've transitioned to.
And Texas, but yeah.
And
they play each other
Yeah.
this week.
they do. We'll get to that.
Yeah,
But I think you're completely right. I think before that Vanderbilt loss, DeBoer, after they beat Georgia, really certified themselves, hey, this is still Bama.
yeah,
We can still run you over. We're still a great program. And then they lost to Vanderbilt.
yeah,
And then you're like, yeah, he's not Saban.
yeah.
Okay? Let's calm down here. And I
Yeah.
think you're definitely right. This is a very big game for them.
Yeah, and I can agree that they should win this game. And didn't Tennessee go into overtime with somebody? Who was it?
Florida.
Yeah,
And I really like DJ Lagway.
Yeah,
I think he
as
can
a
do something
freshman too,
special.
he's a true freshman, which is
He was
crazy.
like 6'3", 245.
Yeah. He's one of
big
he's
guy.
one of them ones in this true freshman class of ballers. He's
Yeah.
one of them,
Yep.
and I don't think that team should have been taken to overtime. I obviously Florida has what they
No.
have, but it's not.
Yeah.
They're not going to be the SEC champions, and
Mhm.
they're not going to be in contention for it.
No. And can they be in contention with
The
and-
likes of Bama and all this other stuff, like
that's not only that's I mean can they? But that's not his name is blanking me right now. He's on the hot seat right now, Billy Napier.
oh, their whole head coach.
I like Billy Napier. I think he's done very well recruiting, and he's in a tough conference. And I think that they should probably give him this year, and if he sucks next year, get rid of him. But I think he's on the hot seat. He's probably going to get fired. I mean, when Florida they've been underwhelming in past years. Last time they were good with the Cal Trask and Cal Pitts in 2020. That was the best they've
the thrown
been.
cleat, right?
Yeah. Oh my, Marco Wilson. I hate Marco Wilson because I was such a Florida fan that year, and he ruined their season. Terrible. That was like the
The
best.
last time that they were
It's like
really.
last time they were good since Tebow, which is crazy to say.
Yeah.
I think they should give Napier a little bit more of a leeway, but they're probably gonna fire him, and it sucks. I like him. But,
And that's
you know.
another thing that you mentioned about him being a great recruiter. And what's crazy to me is that, like, how hard is it to recruit in the SEC? You're the
It's
SEC,
so
and you're
hard.
Florida
Especially with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma, it got even harder.
to recruit.
Absolutely, you're
Coming
like,
out of high school,
yeah,
you're a Power 5 SEC college.
I understand that, but you're like, if you've got an offer,
You're not trying to get a guy to come to Western
you got-
Michigan.
if
You're Florida.
If you are born and you play in Mississippi, all right, and you get an offer from Florida, you're like, okay, that's cool, but I also got an offer from Georgia. I also got an offer from Bama and Texas and Oklahoma. Not to mention, you've got Ole Miss in state. Plus, that doesn't even count anybody out of the SEC. Like, it's harder
Yeah.
because you can't, as Florida, you're like, we play in the SEC, you get to play in the SEC.
But you're not the top dog in
But
the
you're
SEC.
not.
Yeah.
And you're going to get blown out in these games against
I
these
feel you.
top schools, so it's harder to recruit.
I feel you.
But, I mean, to your point, you are Power 4. And there's,
Yeah.
there's
The 5 is now 4. Yeah.
5 is
'cause
now
they've,
4,
They've,
which-
theyve dissolved the Pac-12. Which
it's still there, but it's not there at
no,
the
it's
same
the
time.
Pac-2. Yeah,
It's the
and it's
Pac-2.
what is it? Oregon State and
Oregon
Washington.
State and Washington State.
Oh, Washington
Yeah.
State. Yeah.
But they have picked up some teams that, you know, they're not they're a shell of their former self. But
Yeah.
they can still be, you know, Pac-12. I'm kind of rooting for the Pac-12, not rooting for those teams
Yeah.
because they stayed.
Yeah. Respect. So we're both going Bama here.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to say it's going to be a 14-point
Okay.
win. I can give Bama a touchdown spot.
Okay.
That's about it.
Next game is Notre Dame Georgia Tech. I think Notre Dame here is on upset alert.
Georgia Tech's ranked.
They are not. They're 5-2. They're not ranked.
Oh, I thought they were 23. Is Notre Dame 23?
No. I think it's either Army or Navy is 23. Because Army and Navy are both ranked for the first time. Like,
Yeah. They
ever.
talked about that in the Pat McAfee show too.
Yeah. And
Um,
which is really cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think Notre Dame is on upset alert, and I really like Marcus Freeman. I think he's a great coach.
Okay.
But I don't think I don't trust Riley Leonard.
No,
as a
especially with what he
passer.
showed week 1 and 2 or whatever. Whenever they were losing,
Sucked
to, like,
in week
nobody.
1.
Yeah.
Sucked in week 2.
Yeah.
Like, granted, he played well against who did they? I think they like beat Purdue. They beat Stanford.
Yeah.
Like they beat Stanford pretty badly, which they should do.
Yeah.
I don't trust Riley Leonard very much. I like the running back. I think he's a freshman. I don't remember his name. But he's very good.
Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Isn't he big? He's a big dude, isn't he?
I don't think.
I was thinking of I don't know. I was thinking about
Estime.
Estime. Yeah, that
Audrey
was
Estime.
last year.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. His name is Jeremiah Love. Yes, 6 foot, 206 pounds. Oh no, is he a junior? Jeremiah Love, sophomore. I think he's a very good running back. I just don't trust Riley Leonard very much. Haynes King, I think, is okay, but I still think Notre Dame wins. I just think that they're on upset alert. I could see Georgia Tech winning this game, but
Notre Dame's 12th.
they are 12th in the country. Yep.
And yeah, Tech's is 5.
Yeah, and I think that ranking suits them pretty well. I think that's about where they're at. But I think they're on upset alert. I'm not saying that they're going to lose.
I would bet on G Tech here. I would.
I could definitely see that. They are 11-point favorites.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like if this upset goes the way that I was thinking, you're gonna get a big return on your investment.
Mm-hmm.
And I had buddies who bet $50 and $20 on Vandy to beat Kentucky. And
Really?
Yes, they put money on Vandy.
How much did that pay out? That must have been pretty.
It was something crazy, and
Yeah.
that's what they were happy. They were like freaking out.
Yeah.
We went to Topgolf, and they were freaking out whenever we were there watching it. It was nuts. But definitely was a sweat. But they got
Yeah.
their money in the end, and
Mhm.
I could see this one going the same way. I think it'll be close for most of the game, and then I think Tech just finds a way to pull it out.
Especially because they're at home.
Yeah.
All right. So next we have Michigan, Illinois, and I'm really intrigued to see who they start at quarterback
Do
because
you think they're gonna move on from Orgy?
I think they should because the guy cannot
Was
throw
it
the
was it
ball.
Warren Davis Warren or whatever the heck his name is?
No, he was the guy who started, but they went with.
Orgy.
Did they bring him back? I guess they brought Jack Tuttle. They brought in
Oh.
Jack Tuttle. That's the guy that they brought in. Yeah, and he had mediocre stats.
It's not Davis, is it? Alex Warren? What's his name? What's the quarterback's name?
No, you're right. Davis Warren is the guy they started at the beginning of the year, who
Okay.
was mediocre. And then Alex Orgy's a physical specimen, but he can't throw the ball.
Yeah.
And Jack Tuttle.
That offense is completely handicapping their great defense that Michigan has.
Absolutely. And I really like
And
what is his
who's
name?
it-
Kalel Mullings.
Khalil.
He's doing what
He's the running back, isn't he?
he is doing what Donovan Edwards did to Blake Corum.
Yeah.
But Blake Corum was a whole lot better in his senior year than Donovan Edwards is this year.
He's just stealing the show. That's all.
Yeah, he's playing out of his mind, and maybe that's because teams are so worried about Donovan Edwards. But I like Illinois here. I think that Luke Altmaier has been playing relatively well recently. They're at home. I think that this is kind of a big game for Illinois because it puts them at 6-1.
If they win, are you taking Illinois to win?
I'm going to take Illinois to win. And I think that they need to win this game because they are going to Eugene next week. And they're going to get slaughtered.
Yeah, that's raps. That's raps. And that's the funny thing, too, is that I didn't expect Oregon to beat Ohio State or put up as much of a fight as they did. I thought it was firmly going to be Ohio State, and I was firmly wrong.
And I kind of want to get into that late, Will Howard.
Yeah, the slide. Yeah, that kind of just threw it all away.
Yeah, but
And the onside kick was cool, but
I want to talk about that too. But
I'm actually gonna go against you because I have to. Because if I don't, it's I gotta pay the girlfriend tax if I don't pick Michigan here. So I'm gonna take Michigan to win just because of their defense, and Colston Loveland will score 2 touchdowns.
Okay, all right. So let's see here. Next game I have
the big one
is I'm not going that one yet. We're gonna talk about that one probably last, which is
okay.
Yeah, I don't really want to talk about 2 more games. I have LSU Arkansas.
Okay.
And this is an interesting game.
Why do you want to talk about this? You think it's gonna be close?
It is. LSU is 2.5 point favorites.
Why? They don't like LSU that much, huh?
Because Arkansas has a very good defense, and I think that also they're at home, which is also I think why this is such a close game. And considering the fact that Garrett Nussmeier went 22 for 51.
6 interceptions on the season. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
The guy
but Kyron Lacey, though.
The guy is really hit or miss. The guy is really, I'm going to hit you with a great drive. I'm going to dot you up. I'm going to pick you apart. And then he throws a really stupid pass or like he just misses somebody.
Yeah.
But, we saw Arkansas beat Tennessee at home. Saw that upset. But I think LSU's offense is a whole lot better than Tennessee's. I like LSU's offense. That's why I'm going to pick them. I think it's going to be like a 9 or 10 point win. I think that Arkansas can put up a fight. I don't think they're really going to score as much. I don't think that their offense is very good. It hasn't been in recent years, but their defense has been good.
Yeah.
So
they shut out, not shut out obviously Tennessee. They held Tennessee to 14 points.
And that's why I took Bama over
Yeah.
Tennessee because their offense just isn't very good.
Yeah, and Auburn, they did the same thing as well, holding them to 14.
Mm-hmm.
They lost to Oklahoma State in double overtime, which is whenever we saw the hype train for Ollie Gordon taken off, but that's since died out a little bit.
Yeah, they're sitting at, I think, 3-3.
And then on top of a narrow loss to A&M for Arkansas for their 2 losses.
I really thought Arkansas was going to win that game. I was kind of surprised.
Probably should have been at that point. But
yeah, and Texas A&M kind of surprised me, and they play Mississippi State this week. I think that's a blowout. That's really not why I'm talking about it. I think their defense is just incredible, and Mississippi State is just, it's kind of crazy that Vanderbilt is not the doormat in the SEC this year, and it's Mississippi State.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I'm not covering that game.
Who does Vandy play this week? I also want to see what's up with Penn State because they're talking about this Penn State team like it's the second coming of Jesus.
And they are absolutely not.
They're still
Lincoln
undefeated,
Riley,
though,
what are you doing? Like, Lincoln, come on, man. What are we doing here? Vanderbilt plays Ball State.
Okay.
They are 26-point favorites.
Watch them lose that game. Watch them lose that game.
Looking to go 5-2 since probably
that's not
ever.
Bad. Yeah, that's not bad. Since the Jay Cutler years of Vanderbilt.
Did he even go? He went to Vanderbilt. That's such a Jay Cutler school, though.
Yeah,
like that's
he's like the only team that offered him really was Vandy, and they were trying to scout somebody else. They were trying to go after a different Cutler, and they sent him a thing, and then they watched his tape. They're like, you know what, you can keep our offer. And he's like, all right, bet.
Yeah, Penn State has a bye.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see who they play next week. They open. Let's see, who do they play? Probably
I just want to see whenever they play Oregon because that's whenever you're going to see the true.
They go to Badger and they play Wisconsin. Ooh, I'm kind of looking forward to that game.
Why?
That could be pretty good.
Wisconsin's going to lose that game.
You know what? It's Badger. It's a night game, primetime 7:30 on NBC.
You really think this home crowd is like a big deal, and I
absolutely
understand how
does.
you think that,
Yeah,
especially for like the likes of Penn State and the guys
Especially,
that have the
yeah.
tradition, and Michigan who has the big tradition.
yeah.
But
Teams like Michigan, like we saw, how many, like 5 field stormings last Saturday. Like the home field advantage is a very, very big part of college football. So that's why anytime I see Penn State in an away, on an away game with a somewhat decent team, I'm gonna pick against them. Also because I hate them.
okay, fair. As a Pitt guy, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That checks out.
Yep.
So are you getting into the big one? That's
We
our last
are
game.
Georgia and Texas.
Woof.
And I was right. I knew that Texas would blow out Oklahoma, but I still was not impressed with how Quinn Ewers played. Granted, he's coming off of an injury, hasn't played in a couple weeks, but I like Georgia very much. I really like Kirby Smart as a coach. They have a ton of talent. Mikel Williams. They have Dalen Everett. They have Malachi Starks. The defense is absolutely loaded. Carson Beck. Granted, he threw 2 picks, I think, against Mississippi State, and the defense also let up, I think, 31 points to Mississippi State,
Yeah.
which they shouldn't have.
Garbage team.
This is Georgia we're talking about.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Carson Beck, you take out the first half of the Bama game, and he's looking like a very good quarterback. Like, he went 36 for 48, 459 yards. That's a lot of yards. And he threw 3 touchdowns, but he also threw 2 picks. So, I'm going to take Georgia here, and I'm going to take them by, like, a field goal. They have Texas as 5-point favorites. I like Georgia here. I think that Quinn Ewers is going to, I'm not going to say struggle, but he's not going to have a great game.
Tough. Here's the thing: Georgia has had the harder schedule up until this point.
Oh, absolutely.
They've been primed more for this game than Texas has.
They've played Clemson, they've gone into Kentucky, and they've gone into Tuscaloosa. And
Yeah.
now they have to go into Austin. Like, come on, are we kidding me? Are you trying the college football playoff committee? Are you trying to keep Georgia out of the playoffs?
Right.
Like, what are we doing here?
Texas saw Michigan, UTSA, UL Monroe, Mississippi State, and Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And Oklahoma's not terrible, but they're not on the likes of Alabama or
Yeah.
or UK or Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing is that I don't know. With all that being said, I still want to take Texas just because it's Texas.
It
and,
is Texas, yes.
and they have
It's
a good tight
Sarkisian
end. They have Bond and
Bond, yeah.
and Ewers is back in, but they don't
Mhm.
have the running game I think that they're gonna need. But they have the offensive line for it. It's tough.
Yeah. And what really won the game for Bama against Georgia was Jalen Milroe's scrambling ability and his ability to run that ball. And Texas's run game is nowhere near as good as Bama's.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of why Bama won that game, especially why they got out to that massive lead in the first quarter. So that's kind of the reason why I'm taking Georgia here.
It's tough because I want to say that Beck is going to lose them the game.
I could definitely see that happening.
Yeah.
Because the guy makes stupid mistakes sometimes.
Yeah, and that's why I want to say that. I don't know. So if Georgia wins, do they take the 1 spot?
I think they're the best team in the country, but they won't give it to them.
So
It'll stay. It'll go to.
Oregon. Well,
I hate to say this, but Penn State's going to go to 2, and Oregon's go to 1. Georgia move up to 3.
so do you think that the record and the undefeated thing matters when it comes to it should it? If you were an AP poll voter,
Absolutely, they would fire me as an AP poll guy because I don't care if you're undefeated or not. I really base the records off of how good you are.
yeah.
I would put Penn State at 8 or 9,
Mm.
and they're still undefeated. I'd probably keep Oregon.
But it's just like there's not going to be a Big Ten team that can compete with an SEC team unless you are.
unless you're Ohio State.
And
That-
that's
and-
what I was going to say before they lost to Oregon. But now that Oregon beat them, you have to put Oregon in the same
Yeah,
in the same
Oregon and Ohio
conversation.
State are the only 2 teams I think can hang with SEC, with the Georgias and the Texas
Right,
and the Bamas.
right, and that's the problem that you're going to see is that it's just going to be dominant, especially in the at-large bids, and that's
Mhm.
what you're going to see is a lot of SEC and teams like, for example, if Pitt were to not win the ACC but to be an at-large bid,
Yeah.
they're like
They would literally.
have no chance
The
in the 12
only
man.
way that Pitt gets an at-large is if they go undefeated and then they lose the ACC championship.
to Miami.
That's the only scenario in which they get in.
But if they only lose in that championship game, they could be 9th or even as high as 6th.
Because that means they beat Clemson.
Yeah, and that's what's tough about this 12-man thing is like trying to decide who deserves it the most. And you don't want to see too much of one conference, but
Mhm.
3 or 4 of the best teams in college football come out of one conference.
Yeah, I
So-
mean, we're going to see at least 3. We're going to see
Texas, Bama.
Georgia, and Texas.
Right.
They're all going to make it. Those are the shoe-ins.
Right.
Possibly in LSU, possibly in Ole Miss. They could possibly have 4 or 5 teams in the college football playoff.
Well, there's what? So you get 5 or 6.
5. You get the 4 winners of the Power 4,
Yeah.
and then you have the best.
At large.
It's the best.
Group of 5, doesn't the
Group of 5.
Yeah.
It's the best Group of 5 team, and that's probably going to be Boise State this year.
Okay.
So
And it's the only one out of all of the entire other. Well, I
there's
guess.
one Group of 5 team that makes it.
Yeah,
yes.
which makes sense because the Group of 5 has no chance.
Yeah, and they want it, and they want to get that mark.
And I hope it's Boise State really because I want to see what Gene T can do
I
against
want to
these
see what he
big
does
teams.
because he's been putting up video game numbers.
Yeah, and then that's what they've all been saying is that it's only been because of the fact that he's playing against this
and
non-competition.
you can't say that because he's doing this stuff in the first half.
Yeah, that's true.
Like he's playing. They're beating teams so badly, and he's putting up these monster
It's the Derrick
numbers.
Henry rule that he experienced in high school, where they had to pull him out after the first half.
Like
It's
if you
the same
keep
thing.
this guy in, he could like double his yards.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm not.
There's no tread on those tires. Well, I shouldn't say no, but there isn't a whole lot of tread on those tires, and that's another thing. Is like, how high could this guy go in the draft? Because Gibbs went 6th or something, didn't he, to the Lions? And then they took
I think
Campbell
he went
after
14th. Like he went high. He went way higher than anybody.
12th,
thought
maybe
he
it was, and Bijan went 4th or something. It
BJ went 7th.
7th. Okay.
Yeah, and I think Gibbs went 14th, and Jack
Okay.
Campbell fell to the second round. He was like 42nd
Okay.
or 46th. But
I thought it was like they took somebody at like 8, and they took somebody at 16.
yeah, they really reached with their first round picks. The Lions did.
But all that to say is I'm only talking about like where running backs are valued in terms of draft. I know the
Yeah.
Steelers took Najee
At
in the
20.
back end. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
and I
where
think-
do you see this guy go? Because
I think
realistically,
back end.
really, I don't.
And it sucks because I think he's such a great player, but they're just not valued at all.
I know,
They're
and that's the
just
thing. I
not.
know that they're not, but this guy, I
He's
think
different,
I think
yeah.
he's. I don't know if I can. I was gonna say that he might be more polished than Bijan, and I don't know if I can fully say that because Bijan did it in the SEC, and I can respect
Yeah,
that.
he did in Big 12
Yeah.
when they were.
Oh,
in
Big 12. Excuse me. Yeah.
But I think later half of the first round is probably where he's going to go because I think that they're like I said, they're just not a valued position
And that's not
anymore.
gonna win your team any.
Like no one is taking.
It's like
Ashton
war.
Jeanty. Yeah, and they're like, this guy is
wins
the
above replacement. right?
foundation of our franchise. He
Yeah.
is going to be our franchise player. I just don't think.
It's like baseball war where it's wins above replacement. Like okay, so say you have, I don't even know. I want to say Alexander Madison. If you're the Raiders or Zamir White, whoever, how many more wins does Ashton Jeanty get you if he
Yeah.
plays instead of Zamir White? And just the only problem with that is that he is a running back, and that a running back on his own with no offensive line can't win you a game.
Unless you're Derrick Henry
And well,
or Christian McCaffrey. Those are the only
I
two
don't even
guys.
think they win the game because if they don't have an offensive line blocking for them, they get jacked.
Yeah, but Derrick Henry
Doesn't need one.
clawed that Tennessee Titans team to
Yeah.
the AFC Championship.
Well,
and
well,
almost
they had
beat.
Lawan. Lawan was a serviceable.
Yeah,
yeah.
and that was when
and Ben
Tannehill was
Jones.
okay.
Yeah, and
But like he was he was the driving force
Yeah,
behind
yeah,
that
yeah.
team. Like him and McCaffrey are the only two guys that could drag a team to the playoffs.
yeah.
And I don't think Ashton Jeanty will ever be those two guys. But I still think he's an incredible player, and he's probably a top 5 just strictly talent.
And as
in this
you
shot
and
class.
as we're talking about draft now because we have a little bit of time left over,
Mhm.
you have Cam Ward as being a Heisman favorite for you, and you think
Yeah.
he deserves it. Do you think he is going to be the first quarterback taken in this draft?
I think if he continues to play at this level, I think he probably should. But
But will he? No, he won't.
I don't think he will.
I don't
'cause
think so
I think that
either.
they'll probably take.
Viewers?
No, I think yours is probably the 3rd or 4th quarterback taken because.
I think the injury history alone.
Yeah.
But I
And
think
also,
Shedeur.
yeah, I think that it's either going to be Shedeur, which I hate, or it's going to be Milrow, and I like
There is
Milrow.
so much hate in your
There's
heart for
so
Shedeur
much
Sanders.
hate.
What
Like,
did
literally,
he
if-
specifically do? Was it
If
just his dad?
last name was not Sanders, I'd be like, okay, this guy's okay. He might be good. I don't know, but his last name is Sanders, so I don't like him.
Oh, man, that's what I used to. They used to have a show, and it was a reality TV show. I
Mhm.
don't remember. It wasn't Keeping Up with the Sanders, but it was something about.
Oh yeah, they did that. You know what?
And I watched it.
The Sanders are the Ball brothers of college football.
Oh,
That is the equivalent, and you can't tell me otherwise.
oh, that isn't how it started. That's so bad because like you're likening Dion to LeVar, And now,
Tell me how they're different.
Yeah.
Tell me how they're different.
And now that's what Dion is, but back then that was not what Dion was. I watched that show religiously because of Dion's wife. No, I'm just kidding. Because I watched that show because I liked Shiloh a lot. He was a funny dude, and he was the older brother, and we were like closer in age, I think. And he was like a really good player in high school and whatever else. And then they talked about how Shedeur was coming up, and he was getting looked at. And
I don't like that because it's the Bronny James effect. He is getting.
He's good though. Shedeur is good. He's a good
clout
quarterback
because of his last name. Same
he's
thing
not a good
with,
quarterback though. You can't say he's a good quarterback.
I think he's above average. Like that's what I'm saying. He's my JJ McCarthy.
But how good is that Colorado team? How good are his receivers? How good are because I like Jimmy Horn.
Even the fact that he still like kept that Kansas State game competitive without like any of his wide receivers is impressive, and I have to give him credit for that. But he's a Travis Hunter merchant. He really is. He's a Travis Hunter merchant. Like Travis Hunter is such an incredible player, and that one catch that I saw against North Dakota State in the end zone, terrible, awful ball, and Travis Hunter just makes an incredible play on it. I think he's a Travis Hunter merchant.
That's fair enough. As we're going to close out here, thank you guys for listening. Yeah. It is 3:40 Wednesday, October 16th. We appreciate everyone listening and devoting your time to listening to us. Make sure to keep your ears glued to the DSR, Duquesne Student Radio, so that you can listen to our Steelers pregame show, which will be coming at you 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. on Friday, just in 2 days from now.
Yeah.
Signing off, I have been Christian Bartoletti, along with my co-host,
Ben Giannetta.
And thank you guys for listening. Have a great day.